Hello and welcome to a brief tutorial reviewing the Unit 2 quiz and how to check your answers for the Unit 2 quiz. So let me show you really quickly how to do that. First, you can go to grades and you can see that you have a quiz grade here. Unit 2 quiz grade is right there. But unfortunately, there's nowhere to click. I can't click there, I can't click here. So there's no way for me to look at the grade through the grade book. This just tells me the overall grade. So what I need to do in order to go forward is I'm going to need to go to the actual assessment. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can go back in through content, but probably the easiest way is just to click on assessments, click on quizzes, and we bring us to the quiz area, and there's our quiz right here. I can click on this quiz summary, or I can click on this little down arrow next to it. Now, if I just click on this quiz summary, it's going to open up this window which tells you that you completed it. It tells you the instructions. If we go back, if we just click on this down arrow right here, you can actually click on submissions, and that's going to open up this one, which will again tell you your grade over here on the right. But over here you see attempt 1, which is your attempt. So I'm going to click on that attempt 1, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up the actual quiz for you. And then this quiz area is where you can see everything that has been done. So you can look at the actual instructions again up here. And then further down, you'll see the questions. You'll have the questions and you'll have the answers. And over here on the right, you'll see how many points you got out of it. So that's how to actually find your quiz, find your points, and more importantly, find the feedback. Because below each question, you'll see view feedback. And this feedback is what I wrote. This is what me, Patrick, wrote for you in order to get some feedback. So I'm going to go through the most common mistakes people made on quiz 2. One of the most common things that people did is they did not have paragraphs. So if you go up here, you'll notice that you have to put paragraphs in. You have to hit the enter key in order to put paragraphs in. So please, please, please make sure you hit enter twice in order to insert paragraphs in. If you don't hit enter twice, then no paragraphs will appear. The reason is because I have this big block of text right here, and this big block of text is very cumbersome to read. So if I have paragraphs, I can read and grade very quickly. Because you got to understand, I'm grading about 50 of these times however many questions there are, and if there's a big block of text, it really slows me down. So that's one error that people kept doing. And by the way, for quiz 3, quiz 4, and for the final exam, that's a 50% penalty for not having paragraphs. So again, hit enter twice in order to have paragraphs. The other thing here is that you might notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 concepts listed here. But if you read the instructions, there are 7 fundamental forces that affect perception within interpersonal communication. Describe 2 of these in detail. Okay, it doesn't ask me to list all 7. So that's another thing. Make sure you read the instructions and don't answer things that it doesn't ask you to answer. Another thing I don't want you to do is I don't want you to just list things. If I did want you to list all 7, I wouldn't want it to look like this. I would want it to be the 7 forces of perception are, and then write a full sentence with commas and everything, because I really want this to be in some kind of essay, short essay format. All right. So let's go on to question number 2 here. Language has 6 features. Briefly describe 3 of those features. Something else I don't like to do is to number your answers. Just write, again, paragraphs. So if you look at my feedback here, it says use paragraphs. It says don't number because these are not paragraphs. And you need a lot more specifics in here. This needs a lot more specifics. These are very vague answers. You just need more detail. You got to think each of these questions should take about 10 minutes to answer. I'm guessing that whoever wrote this, which by the way was me, it didn't take 10 minutes to write this. It only took me about a minute to write that. So you want to really spend time on these that should be spent. Okay, we go down to here. The textbook describes 3 kinds of attribution errors. Pick one of those types of errors and describe it in your own words. Then give an example of a time when you personally experienced it. Do not use examples from the book. So getting a bad or good grade or getting cut off in traffic are both out of play here. This is something actually several of you did anyway. You actually brought this stuff up. So please read the instructions really carefully. And then we do have paragraphs. You notice this person hit enter twice. Again, this person was me. One of the attributions errors is self-serving bias error. Okay. And then there's a space for a paragraph, and then it goes into one time I experienced self-serving bias error. And the rest of this is a really good answer. The only problem is it said pick one of these types of errors and describe it in your own words. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can read it, hopefully. So if we look at my feedback, it says you don't answer all parts of the question, but it was a great example. All right, let's move to the next one. There are 6 abuses of language. List all 6 of them. Then pick one of the 6 to describe in detail, in your own words. Then describe a time when you personally experienced this abuse, either as the abuser, the abusee, or just someone who observed it between the other people. Okay, first things first. List the 6 abuses. It's in a sentence. That's great. The problem is you're not supposed to cite the book. In fact, you're not to use the book. You're not really supposed to use the book at all when you're doing these exercises, these quizzes. Please don't use the book. Please use only your notes and your study guides at best, but definitely don't cite the book. And then I go into profanities and abusive language. If a person uses extremely strong and offensive language, it's abuse when the constant language is appropriate. In the appropriate context, profanity is not an abuse. That's a great answer right there. And then it goes into the third part of the answer. Sometimes I'll experience profanity at my restaurant job where everybody curses all the time when there aren't any customers around. We all just laugh about it because nobody is really offended. So a couple problems here. Number one, this is not an abuse. This is a time where profanity is not an abuse because nobody is really offended, as I wrote here. And remember, up here it says profanity in the appropriate context is not an abuse. But up here it asks me to describe a time when you personally experienced this abuse. All right, so you're supposed to experience an abuse, but there's no abuse present. The second thing here is use a specific example from a specific time in your life. This is not a specific example. This is sometimes I'll experience this at my job. This doesn't talk about a time. This doesn't say the other day I experienced this at my job when my friend Charlie said this and then this happened. That would be a specific example. This is not a specific example. So again, describe a time when you personally experienced it. A time doesn't say a period of time. It says a specific time. And then the fifth question we're going to go over here. Identify a co-culture you belong to, and pick 2 of the 4 components of culture. Explain those 2 components. Apply these 2 components to the culture to which you belong. Paragraphs, great. But this is the one thing really here is just it's very underdeveloped. This answer is really short and it's not very detailed, and that's a problem. All right. So that's how you find your feedback and your answers. Before you take quiz 3, please go look at your feedback to see what you need to work on. And that is all I have for you. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye.